Hello and welcome back. Now let's get comfy and close our eyes. Don't forget to subscribe.
The Gas Station Shift from Hell, a true horror story. Here's a story from when I used to work part-time at a gas station. The gas station I worked at was open 24 hours. But at night, it could be a bit sketchy because some local punks would hang around. It was located at the foot of a mountain, and if you followed the road up into the mountain, there was a famous local haunted spot. Apparently that's why the punks used the station as a kind of oasis when they went on their daredevil trips to the haunted place. If you go up into the mountain, there's a tunnel on the main road. But just one road over from that tunnel is an older tunnel that used to be in service. And that old tunnel is the real haunted spot. It seems there was some pretty awful incident there in the past. Rumor has it was a rape and murder, or a group lynching, which turned it into a place for ghost stories. Back then, I was a sophomore in college, and I'd sometimes go on the same shift with a high school student named A. The two of us once went to test our courage in that old tunnel. You can drive a car in there, so we tried that local legend. Stop the car in the middle of the tunnel, flick the headlights 3 times, honk the horn 3 times, then take a picture, and supposedly a ghost will show up. Well, of course, nothing showed up in the photo, LOL. Anyway, that's the sort of place our gas station was. Sitting close to a haunted spot, usually. I worked the evening shift after my college classes were done, but because it was summer break, I sometimes also pulled a few overnight shifts. I think it's the same at most gas stations. There's the fueling area out front, and then behind that, there's the station building, right? At night, it looks like no one's around. But actually, there are usually about 2 staff members inside the building. What they're doing is monitoring the fueling operations through security cameras that watch each fueling lane. When a customer lifts the fuel nozzle, the monitors in the control room go ping ping, and the staff checks for safety on the screen. Then they press the allow fueling button. Ever notice how sometimes when you squeeze the nozzle, the gasoline doesn't start flowing immediately? That's because the staff forgot to press the button. Well, part-timers usually just hit the button whenever. We mostly only look at the cameras carefully if a cute girl steps out of the car. Haha. So on that particular overnight shift, it was just me and A. The station's building is usually glass-walled, but after hours for security, we either roll down a shutter or close the blinds so you can't see inside. Also, we turn off the interior lights, but the glow of the monitors is usually enough that we can see each other's faces pretty well. That night, like always, we unplugged the cables that connect the monitor to the security cameras and hooked up the Wii we'd brought so we could play games. It must have been around 2 a.m. when in the middle of our gaming session, the intercom made a true roo-roo kind of ring. Even though it's an overnight shift, we might hear the intercom ring 2 or 3 times a night. The intercom units are at each fueling lane, for people who don't know how to operate the machines or who need something. If there's a mechanical error, the monitor would show an error message and beep. So any intercom calls that aren't error-related, we generally ignore. But this time, maybe 1 or 2 minutes went by, and it rang again. A and I were like, ugh, what a pain, and stopped our game to reconnect the monitor cables so we could check the security camera footage. Our station has lanes numbered from 1 to 4, starting from the mountainside. The intercom call was coming from lane 1, but by the time we switched the monitor back to the security feed, the second ring had stopped, and there was nobody at lane 1. A clicked his tongue. Tisk. They made us quit our game for nothing. He seemed annoyed, and honestly I was too. We tried switching the camera channels to see if the culprit was showing up on some other angle. For reference, here's how the security system was set up. There's 1 camera for each fueling lane, 1 through 4, outside. 1 for the kerosene pump. 2 for the bill changers right outside the store. 1 over to the left, in the service bay where we change tires or oil. Inside, there are 2 cameras, 1 pointed at the automatic glass door from within, and for some reason 1 inside the monitoring room itself. The indoor cameras also record audio. Normally, the monitor display is split into 4 segments, 4 lanes 1 to 4. When we change channels, we get a single full-screen feed of each camera 1 by 1, and eventually it cycles back to the 4-way split. By the way, playing Wii on the night shift was officially approved by our manager. Anyway, we checked all the footage. I don't see any idiots out there, I said. Maybe they just got confused and went home? We scanned every camera, found nobody, and even ended by checking the monitoring room camera. Naturally, That just showed the two of us messing with the system. True, Ruru. The intercom rang again, this time from lane 2. Me and A together. That jerk is back. Me. So lane 1 didn't work, let's try lane 2. What an idiot. Haha. I switched the display to the 4-way view again. I said, huh? Nobody's there. I toggled the channel to show only lane 2's feed, but once again, not a soul in sight. Me. Maybe it's some punk messing around. Go check it out. Hey, no way, man. What if those punks jumped me? We realized we'd have to go outside to confirm what was happening, but we were spooked and definitely didn't want to risk running into punks. After a moment of waiting, it quieted down. We switched the cables back to the Wii and resumed our game. For about an hour, nothing else happened, so we totally forgot about the earlier calls and just kept playing. I said, man, it's dead tonight, huh? It was a bit after 3 a.m. usually. Even late at night, we might get 4 or 5 cars in an hour. But for the past hour and a half, we'd had 0. Yeah, seems that way, I replied. We didn't think much of it. Truru, Ruru. The intercom went off again. This time, lane 3. We were a bit more on edge because that's closer to the station building. Gulp. I was already on alert after what had happened before, but I picked up the receiver with a sharp motion and answered. Hey, hello, do you need help? Hello? No response. Meanwhile, I was hurriedly switching the monitor from the Wii feed back to the cameras. Me. Hey, nobody's showing up there either. A. Seriously? Nobody's saying anything over here either. The screen for lane 3 showed no car, no person, nothing. While A was still looking at the monitor, he went to put the phone back on the hook. Open up. A and I looked at each other in shock. I quickly hung up the receiver. Hey, dude. You heard that? I just nodded silently. Hey, no way. Do you think that was a ghost or something? I was pretty freaked out, but A seemed almost excited. That's because he was a big fan of haunted spots and often dragged me out to them. He loved that stuff. I went on. Check it out though. The intercom's going from lane 1 to lane 2, lane 3, like it's getting closer to us. He laughed. But it took so long between lanes 2 and 3. That's hilarious. Is it crawling on all fours? Indeed, the time gap between lane 1 and lane 2 was maybe 5 minutes. But from lane to lane 3, it had been about an hour and a half. Truru, Ruru. Now the intercom from lane 4 was ringing. Hey, yes, here we go. I was trembling by then, but A was on a total adrenaline high. He immediately switched the monitor to lane 4. Of course, no one was there. Glancing from the monitor to A, I saw that A had picked up the receiver again, but he wasn't saying anything. He was just standing there, staring at the entrance. Me. Hey, what's wrong? He didn't answer. Me. Come on, don't mess with me. This is getting seriously creepy. I was panicking, having no idea why A had suddenly gone silent. I finally spoke. Dude. A, you don't hear that? He kept his eyes glued on the entrance, then gently placed the receiver back on the hook. Me. Hear what? Hey, someone's banging on the entrance door really hard. Me? No, I don't hear anything at all. He was apparently hearing it, but I heard nothing. Then, almost mechanically, he reached for the phone again and connected it to the intercom for the bill changer near the entrance. Now I could hear it too, through the receiver. The microphone near the door was picking up this thunderous pounding. I stood there like a statue, eyes wide, shaking. Uncontrollably, the banging went on for a while, then suddenly stopped, for a split second. I exhaled in relief, until Open Up. That same voice came through the bill changer's intercom. I slammed the receiver down. Multiple intercoms started ringing at once. A and I clung to each other in fear, hands over our ears, practically paralyzed. No matter how hard we covered our ears, the sound of the intercoms was impossibly loud. We couldn't take our eyes off the receiver, A said. Dude. His voice was trembling as he pointed at the monitor. I looked at it, terrified. The screen that showed the bill changer area was suddenly filled by something's face, right in the camera, as if pressed up against it. Its skin looked charred and reddish black, and it wasn't so much a face as a single eye socket area. The eye was bulging out, black pupil darting around like it was trying to peer behind the camera. And remember, that camera was mounted on the ceiling. How on earth was it right up there at that angle? We were too stunned to move, just staring back at it on the screen. I switched channels to the second bill changer camera. Nothing. He cycled through all the feeds, but that thing was gone. And at some point the intercoms had all stopped ringing. We looked at each other, let out a breath. At that moment, rattle rattle, thud. This time I heard it with my own ears, loud and clear. It's a bit hard to explain. But the room next to ours was the service bay, connected to our station office by a small 50-centimeter square door used for passing items through. It takes a little trick to open, twist, and push it. There's no lock on it. At night, the service bay entrance from the outside should be shut and locked, so we weren't too worried about break-ins. Normally, rattle bam. This is bad. This is really bad. We both knew there was no lock on that little door. The sound of that door being shaken kept growing louder. If that thing came through, we were done for. We had the same idea at once. With our legs trembling, we crawled toward the main entrance of the building. We had to escape before it came in. That's all we could think about. It was only a few meters. But with the sheer terror and the pounding noise behind us, it felt like crossing miles. The door opened, and at that exact same instant, we flung open the main entrance door and practically fell out onto the forecourt. We scrambled into my car and drove straight to a convenience store a bit away, where we waited for morning. Around 8 a.m., right before the shift change, my manager called to ask where we'd been and whether we were okay. The police were at the station asking questions, so he told us to come back. Police? I wondered, but I was too drained to think straight and just did as he said. When we got back, there were several patrol cars outside and a bunch of officers. It was chaos. Seeing all that, reality slapped me in the face. Had that thing done something horrible after we ran away? As soon as A and I arrived, we were each taken to a separate police car and questioned. My mind was hazy, so I don't remember exactly what I was asked or how I answered, but it went something like this. Apparently around 2 a.m. a car had crashed into the pillar by lane 1. We hadn't noticed it. The driver died at lane 1, and the passenger, another man, died at lane 2. According to security camera footage, they both had tried to use the intercom for help before they died. But the police said when they watched the camera footage, it looked like A and I had been ignoring their calls. They found that suspicious, so they wanted to know more. But neither I nor A had any idea there'd been a crash or any calls for help. In fact, from our perspective, the cameras showed nothing at those times. The police said the crash itself was recorded on the footage, though from start to finish. Other than that, there was apparently no strange footage. The only weird thing was that, from about 3 a.m. onward, we seemed terrified on camera, then abruptly left and never came back. And the only intercom calls recorded on their system were the 2 men begging for help. None of the other calls or ringings that we had experienced showed up, but the officers did point out one oddity. At the exact moment we ran out of the building, the indoor camera's audio captured something strange. After that, both A and I quit our jobs at the station. Nothing else has happened since. I heard later that the 2 men who died in the accident had visited that haunted place on the mountain that same night. Maybe they picked up some spirit up there. Either way, neither A nor I have gone near that area since.